must have watched the video of President Cyril Ramaphosa speaking, calm, measured, his trademark half-smile betraying little emotion. But behind that composed face lies one of the most misunderstood figures in South African politics. Some call him the archetypal cadre, the model ANC insider who plays it safe, avoids controversy, and waits for the winds of consensus before making a move. Yet, when you trace his journey, from the trenches of the labor movement to the boardrooms of corporate South Africa, the picture becomes far more complex. Today, we unpack the real story behind Cyril Ramaphosa. Is he really just another cadre in a suit, or is he a man who's been unfairly boxed in by politics, circumstance, and public perception? Let's rewind to the 1980s. South Africa was on fire, politically, socially, and literally. Protests filled the streets, unions were rising, and apartheid was showing cracks. In the middle of it all was a young Cyril Ramaphosa, serving as Secretary General of the National Union of Mineworkers. This wasn't a cushy office job. Ramaphosa was at the forefront of some of the most intense labor disputes in South African history. His sharp negotiation skills, calm temperament, and ability to win trust on both sides made him a standout figure. Unlike many political climbers of the time, Ramaphosa's credibility came from the ground up, not from liberation exile politics or ideological speeches, but from real, gritty labor struggles. By the early 1990s, as apartheid began to crumble, Ramaphosa emerged as one of the key architects of South Africa's transition to democracy. He was central in drafting the country's new constitution and shaping the ANC's Reconstruction and Development Programme, the RDP. He was not just a participant, he was a designer of South Africa's new era. Yet, this early success also planted the seeds of misunderstanding that follow him today. To some in the ANC, he seemed too pragmatic, too focused on compromise. Others saw him as the future, a bridge between business and politics, between black empowerment and economic stability. Then came a surprising turn. Instead of staying in the political spotlight, Ramaphosa stepped back from active politics in the late 1990s. He entered the private sector, an unusual move for a senior ANC leader. While others remained entrenched in government, Ramaphosa went into business, quickly becoming one of South Africa's wealthiest and most influential corporate figures. He chaired major companies, including MTN and McDonald's South Africa, and became a symbol of black economic empowerment. For some, this was proof of his brilliance; for others, it was a betrayal, evidence that he had sold out to capitalism. But here's where things get interesting. Ramaphosa's time in business taught him something that few of his political contemporaries ever grasped: how the global economy works, how investment confidence functions, and how to navigate international corporate environments. These were lessons that would later define his presidency. When he returned to politics as Jacob Zuma's deputy in 2014, many expected fireworks. Instead, they got the same cautious negotiator, strategic, patient, always weighing his options. Critics love to say Ramaphosa is too slow, that he governs by committee, that he's allergic to bold action. But look closely, and you'll see a man playing the long game. Every move is deliberate, every silence calculated. Even his greatest opponents, like Julius Malema and Ace Magashule, admit that Ramaphosa is not to be underestimated. His political survival through scandals, party rebellions, and coalition chaos is not by accident. It's the art of political endurance, something very few leaders manage without completely losing credibility. Still, many South Africans remain frustrated. They see a president who talks reform but delivers at a glacial pace. They want the firebrand from the 1980s NUM days, not the boardroom strategist who avoids confrontation. Yet perhaps that's the point. Ramaphosa is not the typical ANC cadre because he's not driven by ideology or patronage networks in the traditional sense. His instinct is to stabilize, not to revolutionize. Think about it: during the height of state capture, While some ANC leaders defended Jacob Zuma or looked the other way, Ramaphosa positioned himself as the quiet reformer, never attacking directly, but never aligning with corruption either. When he finally took over as president in 2018, he inherited a country riddled with economic decay and political mistrust. His project became one of rebuilding, slowly and cautiously. It's easy to mock that pace, but in a political environment where one wrong move can collapse the entire government, slow steps might be the only option. Then came COVID-19, the energy crisis, and a deeply fractured ANC. Ramaphosa's presidency has been tested on every front. Yet, he remains steady as ever. His critics say he lacks charisma. His supporters counter that he's the only adult in the room. Both may be true, but what's undeniable is that Ramaphosa's leadership style is unlike that of his predecessors. Mandela was the unifier, Mbeki the intellectual, Zuma the populist. Ramaphosa is the negotiator, the stabilizer, the one who tries to hold things together even when everything seems to be falling apart. It's also worth remembering that Ramaphosa's life is not just about politics and power. He is one of the few presidents with a serious business background, and his wealth has often been used against him politically. The Fela scandal, for example, cast him as a man of secrecy and privilege, yet even that controversy couldn't break him. He faced down impeachment calls, outlasted internal revolts, and still managed to keep the ANC intact during the 2024 elections. So, is he misunderstood? Maybe. Or maybe South Africans simply expect a different kind of leader, one who shouts, fights, and performs anger like theater. Ramaphosa doesn't do that. His power lies in patience. He prefers the closed-door conversation to the public rally. The soft word to the loud slogan. That makes him an easy target in a political culture that rewards noise over nuance. Still, at @Max timeline reminds us that Ramaphosa's story is not one of luck or political inheritance. It's a story of a man who's worn many hats: union leader, negotiator, businessman, and finally president. Whether you love or loathe him, you can't deny that he has defied every stereotype of the typical cadre. So maybe it's time to ask a different question. Instead of wondering whether Ramaphosa is too slow or too cautious, perhaps we should ask whether South Africa is too impatient to understand the kind of leadership he represents. A leadership built on negotiation, compromise, and long-term calculation, the kind that doesn't make headlines, but might just keep the country afloat. What do you think? Is President Cyril Ramaphosa misunderstood, or is he exactly what South Africa needs right now, a calm hand in a sea of chaos? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video if you enjoy deep dives into South African politics and leadership. Every week we unpack the stories behind the headlines, cutting through the noise to find the real meaning behind the politics. See you next time.